The hour. Donald Trump is keeping the National Guard in Los Angeles now. Yesterday, Judge Breyer, Charles Breyer, he's the brother of Stephen Breyer, who is the now retired former Democratic nominee or appointee to the U.S. Supreme Court. He issued just a blistering ruling yesterday. It was a long one, too. I mean, I think it was, as I recall, like 16 pages, something like that. It was fairly long. And in it, he said that, Trump had failed to demonstrate that there was a rebellion, and therefore he had no justification to bring the National Guard into Los Angeles, that he had violated the 10th Amendment. This is a quote Breyer wrote. He said his actions were illegal, both exceeding the scope of his statutory authority and violating the 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution. He must therefore return control of the California National Guard to the governor. Now, the 10th Amendment, of course, famously says that any powers not given to the federal government in this Constitution belong with the states. And, the power to police their own state, the power to maintain public order, those are state powers, not federal powers. Immediately, the Trump administration appealed this to a 3-judge panel in the Ninth Circuit, 2 Trump appointees, 1 Biden appointee. And the 3 judges said, we will hear this case. We will hear arguments on this case. We will do that on Tuesday of next week. But between now and Tuesday, we're not going to upset the apple cart. We're going to basically put a stay on Judge Breyer's ruling, and we're going to allow the Trump administration to keep their troops in Los Angeles at least until Tuesday. And presumably, if they're hearing arguments on Tuesday, we won't see a decision on this thing until, something close to the end of next week. So, stay tuned, as they say. Trump's border czar then came out. Thom Hartmann, in an interview with the Telegraph, said that he had issued a list of 500 cities, counties, and states that have obstructed Trump's deportation plans by being, quote, sanctuary cities. Now, just so you know what we're talking about here, the whole point of a sanctuary city, and most cities in America are sanctuary cities, the whole point is not to protect illegal immigrants or defend them or keep them here, anything like that. It's none of that. Those are lies made up by Republicans and Fox News because they don't want you to understand what's going on. See, whenever there's a little bit of nuance, there's lots of room for the liars to slide in and just, where there's glib provocations. The way it works is, say you're the mayor of a city, and you've got a community that's got a bunch of people in it who are undocumented. And there are people who prey on them. You've got people raping their women. You've got people going into their communities and robbing people. You've got people murdering them. Gang activity, all these kind of things. But the problem is that those undocumented people in that community are afraid to report these crimes for fear that they'll be arrested and deported. So what do? You tell your police that citizenship is not a state issue. It's not a local issue. There are no state laws about citizenship. These are all federal laws. So citizenship is a federal issue. That is ICE and Border Patrol and the FBI and all that kind of. Tell your police, your job is not to enforce the immigration laws. Those are federal laws. Your job is to enforce our state laws, which are the criminal laws. The federal government, we do not have federal laws against burglary, against rape, against robbery, against murder, except, again, in fact, when Kennedy was killed, we didn't have a law against killing the president. We now have a law that says you can't kill a president, but, we didn't have federal laws against murder because criminal law is the job of the states, not the federal government. Enforcement is the job of the federal government. So all a sanctuary city means is that we will enforce our criminal laws here in this city, and we will protect people who live here, whether they're here, with documentation or not. And if the federal government doesn't want them here because that's their job, they can come and remove them. But we're not going to participate in that process because it's not our job. So anyhow, Thom Hartmann comes out and he says there's 500 cities, counties obstructing. He says, what they're going to is ICE operations, especially in sanctuary cities. God help us. And then he adds, he's just gleeful about this, right? He says, we're going to send massive teams. We're going to flood the zone. Meanwhile, there's a major conspiracy theory running around on the internet right now on the social media sites where they're showing pallets of bricks. And in fact, one of the James Woods, the actor, tweeted one of these. And then, it was displayed on Newsmax, and it's just gone viral on the hard right. These pictures. It turns out that the pictures of the pallets, there's two of them. And by the way, they're also saying, alert, Soros-funded organizations of pallets of bricks to be placed near ICE facilities to be used by Democrat militants against ICE agents and staff. It's civil war. Right? This is what's going on the right. It turns out that the pictures that they are, one of them is a picture from the United States, and the other picture is from years ago on a construction site. It's a pallet of bricks. There's nobody putting bricks out for people to use. It's crazy. And finally, the cameras were rolling, so they shot the cameraman. That's dissentandbloom.substack.com. That's the headline. More than 35 journalists have been attacked now by law enforcement since this whole thing started. And several of them have been shot when they had press credentials. They had press on their, in big letters. One was shot in the forehead. One was shot in the leg, ripped his leg open, ripped out part of his muscle. One was an Australian journalist. The Australians are furious about this. The Committee to Protect Journalists, the First Amendment Coalition, the Freedom of Press Foundation, together they wrote a letter to Kristi Noem saying, stop. Federal officers are deliberately targeting the press.